A value, a value stream are all of the steps that are needed from ideation to execution to deliver a product or a service. I think one of the most famous examples, if you go out into Google and you say Google a value stream, I think you're going to get something like Expedia and airline ticketing or doing a loan at a bank. You walk into a bank and you want a mortgage. There's steps that you go through for the mortgage. There's people that come in that have skills to help you. You get the loan, you get it serviced, you get a mortgage, you get your money, you pay. Those are all the steps when you go in from when I want a mortgage to when you walk out. Also, there's people that are involved that have specific expertise. All of those things are part of a value stream. And one of the most important things of that value stream is to be able to quantify what you're getting out of this, right? What, what is it that we're building, and how do we know that we're building the right thing? How do we inspect and adapt the value? How do we look at something, go, how do we move money from something that isn't performing into something that is? Okay, that's called rolling wave budgeting. Instead of saying you have this bucket of money, how do we continuously adapt to make sure that we're building the things that are the most important? The most important thing to look at in the focus for lean portfolio management is outcome based. Okay, you need to build the value into the system and be able to report on it through each of the steps of the value stream. Does this make sense? I know it's really arcane stuff, but it's very interesting, okay? But it's designed to work within the complex realities of a regulated system. You don't have a lot of money, but you got to see what works. And the only way you're going to see what works is if you're continually inspecting and adapting. And how do we do this? We do this in our sprints. Every 2 weeks, we deliver working software. Every quarter at PI planning, we deliver features. Those features are aligned to the things that are important to finance, and we're able to quantify what the value is. Is it a response time for a fire crew? Is it equipment in the field that needs to be replaced? Is it vegetation management? These are all of the things that we talk about. Does this make sense? All right. So project thinking. Um, what I said before is we started mapping, the projects into products. And the idea is, who has ever been in a conversation where you say define a product? If I were to say to someone define a product and I were to call on, say, Brad, what is a product? Come on, Agilists.
Huh? What is a product? I mean, it's
What
something
is
that
a
adds value that you're going to have customers or companies buy. It could, it's just something that is tangible, that is you can get income on and people can use it. And it's kind of a weak definition, but hopefully
no,
that's
no,
what we
it's
want to
but
do.
you said it in the first couple of words. You said something that adds value, right? It has value. Whether it's your airplane ticket, your mortgage, the book that you bought on Amazon, the book itself, or the system that you went through on Amazon to order that book. Okay, those are providing value, but they meaning the providers of those systems have to understand what value that's giving the customer. Okay, so this is why we talked about value stream mapping. What are all the things from soup to nuts that we're doing to deliver something? And is that something aligned to the goals of the company? Imagine that, where no one asked that question before. You're building stuff because a manager wants it. It seems like a good idea, but is it really the best thing to do right now? And what happens when no one's asking that question? You get things that make no sense over a period of time. We started a project, I'm going to riff here for a minute, about it was called semantic search. And it was basically kind of a proto AI to do a chatbot enabled search for internal systems. Well, what ended up happening was the company pivoted to large scale AI dependent, implementation, so that this piece that they were working on was no longer value in the sense of where it was. So they were able to take that budget for that project, bring it into another part of the value stream to help with the strategic theme that the company had, which was AI work enablement. Okay. So they took a bucket of money of something that wasn't performing. They moved that to an initiative that was part of what the company was looking forward for the next 2 years and moved it. That was unheard of before, where people would use the project to completion. You had this money and you would go until the project is complete. Okay, do you guys follow me about how LPM is starting to tie into Agile? And the way it worked is through that, I'll say it again, inspect and adapt. Okay, so compliance is a big part of this. Okay, in regulated environments, you can't skip a step. But what you can do, you can include those steps into every piece of the process. When you are delivering your work, when you have your release, you bring that compliance in there and you show them as things are going and you give them the opportunity to react to it in real time instead of building something out, spending months and going, hey, compliance, what do you think? But if a compliance representative is part of this process, you can find out earlier on where you need to pivot if you do. Okay? And this way, teams can meet compliance mandates earlier in the process. Okay. A lot of things when we look at budgeting can feel inflexible. And this is where participatory budgeting comes in. Oh, someone just walked in. Who has heard the term participatory budgeting? Who knows what that is? Or better question, when I say participatory budgeting, are you going, like what is that? Participatory budgeting is the event. It's a value stream event where people get together once or twice a year and they look at where their budgets are, what the values being delivered with stakeholders, with team members, with executives, and they get together and they talk about, are we spending our money in the places that makes the most sense? And you know who's part of those conversations? It's not just the executives, it's the teams, it's the trains, it's the business owners, it's the product managers, it's the people that are closer to the work. And now what we've done is we've brought that decentralized decision making into the system where it was absent before. And that was an aha moment for people. How many folks have had a job? Either you're a software developer, or an architect, or an analyst, and you're doing something and they tell you, you get your tasks, you're not agile, you're in a project, you said, build this, and you're like, this makes no sense. Why are we doing it this way? No one's going to do it this way, but you're told to do this. Imagine now if you're in a room and someone says, gee, Sasha, what do you think? And you think, I think this is a waste of time. This is what I think. And you board it out and you have a conversation in a room and you map this out together. That's the essence of participatory budgeting. Is it hard? Yes. Does it blow people's minds? It will. But it's one of those things with lean portfolio management that if you rinse and repeat, it's done the same way over and over again. And one of the things that it does is it builds not only that transparency, but it builds collaborations throughout the value stream. It takes the enterprise with that strategic theme out of a silo. And that's the biggest problem with project funding is you're funding the silo, you're not funding the value stream. Okay? Does that make sense? I've thrown a lot of words at you. No questions? There's got to be one question. Sasha, do you have a question?
Well, I really have tons of questions. For example, you said that switching from project-centric approach to product-centric approach, it
Mm-hmm.
uh, that is something that was too much to ask from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and you may want to do it step by step. However,
Right.
we started the conversation with immediately jumped into the product. What did you do in between to quickly to meet people where they were?
There was, okay, first of all, there's no quick. Someone said to me when they started an agile transformation, they said, "How long is this going to take?" I'm like, "I have no idea. When are we finished?" You're never finished. It's a journey. Um, I started this with these people 5 years ago. So when you meet the people where they are, when you first thing you're talking about before you even get into the lean portfolio management portion of the conversation, you're into the iterative execution portion of the conversation. And for those of you that are agile coaches that have been through a transformation or for several, we had to start with the team building, right? How do we form the teams, bring the teams to the work, not the work to the teams. See,
Hmm.
that's the thing is like they would spin up teams to do something and then they would spin the teams down. So the first thing that we had to do was build a system that, the team was, you have these teams, they work together, you bring them the work. You don't start spinning off and starving the organization because your project needs help. What you do is you build a cross-functional team or teams or trains that are able to execute from end to end on the piece that you're doing. And that's key. You can't have lean portfolio management without an agile transformation because they work together. So we had, in a sense of silos and funding that was based on a vertical instead of a value stream. So one of the things that I did was I got everybody together and we talked about what is the product that you have. And I swear it took hours for them to figure out what is a product. It's something that provides value. And what is a service? What is the difference between a product and a service? And we had to get that understood within the group. And that took a long time. The meet them where they were part, it's not me as a coach going, "No, you're doing it wrong. Read the Agile Bible." It was, okay, guys, we're gonna start small. We're gonna try this. We're gonna, make mistakes. We're gonna set up sprints every 2 weeks. We're gonna work only on the priority work. We're gonna quantify all of the things that we know as agilists that we train the teams. And that took 2 years. 2 years. We haven't even gotten into PI planning yet. We're still trying to understand at a very local level how these things work. Finally, after about 2 years, we're like, "Okay, guys, we're going to do PI planning." And we started to think about moving up the value stream from a team to a group, a team of teams, to a release train. So we're moving up when the teams were comfortable with the cadence of working as an agile team. Only then, once they got comfortable with quarterly planning, where we're discussing the value of the products that we're delivering end to end, and what the business value of the solution. Now we can start talking about budgeting. Now we can start talking about, are we building the right things and how do we iterate on that? But it took a couple of years. None of this is a quick fix. The San Diego area of the utility tried to do LPM as part of their transformation altogether, and people lost their minds because they didn't have the skills. Um, one of the things I did first is I had to teach everybody. And the first thing that we did is everybody had to go to Scrum school, regardless of whether it's IC Agile, Scrum.org, Safe. I don't care. You're all got to know the language of what it is we're doing. And so people went out and they understood the words, they understood the terms. Then they came back, and then I met with everybody every week. And I had custom presentations where these poor folks get to listen to me talking at them every week and doing custom presentations over and over again, reinforcing what we've been teaching, what they learned in class. I'm now reinforcing it to them in their work. Hey, guy. Oh, we have a hand up. Fantastic. What do you got?
Oh, just quick question, Alison. I was wondering, so does that mean the value stream actually replaces project as such, in a traditional sense?
In
And
a sense, in the easiest answer since we're recorded, yes, in a perfect world. The value stream is what gets funded because the value stream is end to end the product or service that provides value. And in that value stream are not only all of the equipment, the technology, it's also the people, okay? And the skills necessary to make that happen. One of the things that they talk about when you're learning lean portfolio managing is to do the team building based on capacity planning. Okay, you might have 4 people that can do this. They only have a certain amount of capacity. How much can can you do with the capacity that you have, right? It's like in project management. How many people are still recovering project managers? How many people have done a Monte Carlo simulation? Cool. How many people have no idea what a Monte Carlo simulation is? Oh, good. So at least you have people, you know what a Monte Carlo, these guys never did a Monte Carlo simulation. They had, they would have these project plans where they have these milestones. And at the beginning of their Agile career, their project managers would say, we have to get this done by July, and I'm looking at it going, based on the people that you have and the amount of work that you've put out over the past 5 iterations, you're not going to do this. You're not going to make it. If you take all of your work items and you put them in a Monte Carlo simulation, you have a 22% chance of meeting your deadline because you're not paying attention to capacity. You're not paying attention to what the team can actually do given what they have to work with. So understanding, how to do capacity-based funding is a key part of lean portfolio management. Okay.
so the reason,
It's all
Alison, the reason I was asking that was because I've seen it both ways where these teams, the value stream can be, are these typically stable teams like in long term, or they are short term and they can be disassembled and assembled based on what is needed across the functional.
why would you assemble and disassemble a team?
Well, so one of the things that in our projects we did was we used to do self-forming teams. So they would come together to tackle certain value stream or feature sets or certain aspect of the product. And then, depending upon the next set of requirements, then you would basically, because there would be a couple of engineers at least who would be very knowledgeable in all-encompassing product, and so they would be needed in a different team as well. So the best
Mhm.
way to do that was dissolve the team that we have after the thing is done, and then you form a team in a short form. But that might work something for a smaller project, but I'm not sure if that goes with the grain of what you're describing it as a value stream.
No, well, there's some underlying components to that, right? And those of us who are enterprise coaches or team coaches understand that in order to build a highly functional, highly effective team, it takes time. And I'm not going to go through Tuckman's model because we've probably all heard of that. But if in your group that you have these people that spin up and spin down, if they've worked together, if it's the same group of people that have worked together for years and they just, and they know each other, and they feed off each other, then you have a highly functional group of people that can do this. But usually what ends up happening is you starve one team for another. You spin up a team and you pull somebody who's a top performer from one team to go to another team, and then both teams suffer because you've now removed a brain from a team, and now in order to make up that velocity, they're going to struggle until they come back up to speed. So whenever you do that, there's a cost in that to the velocity and the output of both teams, introducing new people and removing people. So you have to do that cost benefit. Is that the best way to get something out to keep spinning up and spinning down? In an agile environment, and I'm not saying I'm wearing the Agile Bible here, is you want to have teams that are persistent, so you can bring the work to the team. And one of the other things is that cross-functional learning, where if you have that one guy who's an expert in that one thing and he goes away to another team, you're in trouble. But if that one guy teaches the other people, how to do infrastructure as code, then they're a lot better. Then they can become self-sufficient. So there's complexities in that model. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. Thanks.
One of the things coming back, yes, Alex or Sasha, sorry.
Okay, I think you already started covering that, but I would like us to come back maybe to more clearly articulate. So we have this project-centric mindset, and we want to put some grains of product. We want to change the way, slowly but surely, we want to change the way how the teams are operating. And from my experience, you come to the people say, okay, let's focus on value, let's focus on product, and people say, yeah, great, but we have this project in flight. We have contractual obligations to complete these projects. It will take us just a few more years to do that. Come back later. How did you deal with a situation like that?
Well, that's actually I had teams actually within this. There were teams that actually managed vendor teams that were black boxed, that would come back. And the best thing for that, what I found, was the iterative process itself. Instead of saying come back, waiting for a year or 6 months, when these people came in for the sprint review and the sprint demo, or the showcase at the end of the quarter, what you do is you bring these people in for their input, for their feedback earlier. Instead of waiting till the end and doing that big bang, going, okay, we just built you an email system. What do you think? In other words, showing them, going, hey, this is the first piece of it. This is what we have now. And bringing that iterative sensibility, which they didn't know, instead of waiting till the end, bringing those people into the process, going, okay, we're scoped to deliver let's say passwordless login. Okay, we're going to show you how that works, and we bring them in as it's going so they can provide input instead of waiting, because if you're off on a tangent, you collect that feedback in real time. It gives you more of an opportunity to pivot if you need to. If you look at my screen right here, I'm talking about some basic metrics of flow. And when these were new concepts to them, when we're talking about what is the time to value, how much time is being worked on versus time waiting. In lean, we would call that waste. What is the customer satisfaction, a net promoter score? These are all things that could be tied into KPIs to understand what is providing that value. And so when we went through when we mapped out the value streams, one of the things that we did with each of the strategic themes that the companies came up with, that the value streams were a part of, what we wanted to do is say, what are our objectives? What are we doing? What's our aspiration? And of those objectives, what are the key results that we want of, that's measurable, that's tangible, and breaking them down into metrics that make sense. It's not metrics of how many lines of code did you write? How many bugs did you find? No, those are not value-based metrics. It's how much money was saved, what was the user adoption? If you say you wanted a 25% uptick in, or excuse me, a 25% less call volume to the customer support center, is this system going to do this and move people onto a chatbot based thing? I don't know. But if you have these metrics where you're looking at them saying, are we meeting that promise? Then it makes it a lot easier to say, no, we're not, or yes, we are. So the shift in the conversation goes to, instead of, did we build it? Did we finish? To, does it matter? Did it provide value? Okay. So now, why is it worth it? Here's what I love about LPM is that once it starts working, the gears, the aha moment. And one of the things that I found when I talked to executives after we started implementing value stream level events, was they're like, I had no idea, you mean that we were doing this? Oh, I can ask questions. The people on the teams, the architects, the system architects, or the leads could finally have a voice. I mean, some of the rank and file when I gave a presentation on the basics of LPM, just talking about what LPM is, and people were saying it's like, oh, you mean like people will ask us, that they care what we think? I'm like, yeah, they do, because you guys are producing the work. Of course, people care because you're the people closest to the work. And if there's a problem, you're going to be the first ones to know. You're going to be the first ones to see it. And by bringing that up during a demo, by showing somebody, then you're giving your bosses, you're giving your business owners the chance to comment and provide feedback. And they didn't have that before. And when the business owners were finally brought into this system, because they're the ones paying for it, to see what they're doing every 2 weeks, they loved it. And then to get together, twice a year to look at where the budgets are, to see, do we need to move stuff? Does it make sense? Is really powerful, but it takes a long time. You don't get there overnight. What we found is, once we brought this transparency and this collaboration into the system, we found that people were more responsive. When I first started doing quarterly planning and trying to bring the business owners into the conversation, it was like, telling people to stand in the kitchen while you're cutting up a raw fish. They really were like, I'm too busy. I'm like, we're doing this for you. You really want to know what's going on so you could provide input. Because if you don't and we build the wrong thing, that's your budget that gets shot. So bringing these people in and having them as part of this system was really important when we started introducing lean portfolio management, because it's arcane, and I'm not a finance person. I'm a coach. I'm about building teams. I'm about working with leaders. But one of the things that I really love is when there's that aha moment where people go, oh, I get it. So that's what really helped. So some final thoughts from me. If you're in a shift and you're just thinking about it, I'm going to say this, and my tell as I take my glasses off. It's not easy. Will it work? I don't know, because it's a journey. We had teams at where I am right now, is we have teams that are business focused. Some of you are probably going, my team is not product focused, my team is business focused. Okay, I don't manage a team of engineers. I manage a team of people that manage vendors that build something, right? You can still use pieces of lean portfolio management with that, because you're understanding what the priorities are, what the flow is, what the value is. There's still an opportunity as part of your Agile process to inform some of these decisions that previously were a black box to you by being part of the conversation. So I was teaching some of these teams that are business focused, that don't really even have a product. They have a set of services that they maintain, of how they can provide value in this loop. And that was really, really comforting to them, and an aha moment going, oh yeah, we have things we can say. And it all started with Agile at the team level, building teams, doing iterative development, collaborating, transparency. This is all from the bottom up. And what made it work is we had buy-in from our leaders that says we're going to do this. But they're still in their beginning stages. It's going to take them a while. So I look forward to see, come back in a year and see what happens. Anyway, I think that was my last slide. Alex, Sasha, questions, anything? You guys, this was I feel like I'm just Bruce Springsteen and I just played for 2 hours on stage here. Anything that resonated? You guys, what did you learn? What is one thing you can take away from my yapping at you for 55 minutes?
Folks, the floor is open.
Floor's
So
open.
please, anybody wants to share your aha moment or any new concept that you are going to take back to your place of work and maybe start using it tomorrow?
Start doing lean portfolio management tomorrow. Get certified. Go to IC Agile, take a class. I recommend IC Agile because you don't have to keep renewing your damn certifications every year. And IC Agile are really good, but learn it. If you're a coach, and especially if you're an enterprise coach, I would take a lean portfolio management course through either IC Agile, through SAFe, through somebody else, just to understand all the moving pieces, to understand what planning horizons are, the ins and outs of participatory budgeting, rolling wave budgeting, capacity-based planning, all of these things that sound like I urge you to look up online and to be familiar with some of these concepts, because those are what are going to help you as you expand into this arena. Yeah. I've left everybody speechless, Sasha.
Okay. How about if I use my magic ball? Oh, Argus, please.
Yeah. So I heard some sprint metrics, right? I heard you mention like velocity and things like that, right? So how does this translate one-to-one to LPM metrics?
Absolutely. When you look at flow metrics, in a sprint, you have a book of work that you're doing over time, and you're going to finish that commitment at the end of a sprint, right? Same thing if you're doing it at a quarter, right? You have an epic, you have a feature, and you have a team, and you know what that velocity is of what you can do for a period of time. It's the same thing when you're doing larger scale still projects, larger scale implementations, is you have to understand how much can go through the system. You can't just say, okay, we should. When I was doing maybe back up. When I was doing project management, I would try to figure out how many hours a week it was going to take someone to do a thing. But that's not the way it works when someone's at their desk. Time doesn't run in the same easy bucket for a day. You get pulled into all different directions, and by the end of the week, your week may have gone into a different direction. So when you look at what a team can do, what the capacity is, then you have a better idea when you can deliver something. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, that flow. What is the velocity? What is the output of the team? What is the output of the release train? Where can we get something, that's tangible? And that's what I was talking about, WIP limits. if you're familiar with Kanban, you're looking at how much work is in progress and how long it takes to get to the next area. And that's based on how much you can do in the system. You don't keep loading up the system, because that'll be like calling your cable company and they tell you you're the 150th in line and your call will be answered in the order received. What you want to do is limit the work in progress to the most valuable, the most priority work based on the capacity that your groups have to be able to deliver that value. And when I say that capacity-based and value-based, that's how we bring the agile sensibility into the finance world. Did that make sense? Yes?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, it's like a scrum of scrums or something like that, or
Yeah, it very well could be. All of these things are modular, right? When you have something that's going to take a long time and you want to figure out, can we do this? You want to look at who do we have? What are we doing, and what's our priority? And one of the things that we do in lean portfolio management is there's a system of prioritizing your epics based on how much money is in there, based on the value. There's a weighted shortest job first that's made specifically for lean portfolio management that brings in the money part, that you can actually figure out of these things what is your biggest bang for the buck based on WSJF in your epics. Are you guys familiar with weighted shortest job first, or did I just like rabbit hole something? I never know anymore. It's not just, it's not just for sprint work. That's one of the best things I ever learned in Scrum School was how to do weighted shortest job first. And when I was going through learning lean portfolio management, we started doing it at the epic level. I'm like, oh wow, this is this is pretty good. This works.
Though in practice, it often feels like Hippo's pet project first.
Right, but if Hippo's pet project first, okay, Hippo and your pet project, who wants it? What is it going to solve? How is it going to be used? What does success look like? And I did this I was at Disney for 5 years, and I did this at Disney because it was the loudest guy got his project, ESPN. And it'd always be like, the top people yelling the loudest got what they wanted. But as soon as they had to write a lean business case and talk about what value looks like, how is value delivered, how is value realized, it changes the conversation. And this is one of the things when we talk about that participatory budgeting. Are we realizing the value that we thought we would? Do we need to pivot? And now Hippo's pet project has to be accountable to the value that they want to derive from it. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. I have frequently seen it fail in practice.
Oh, it does, and it will fail. But the thing is one of the great things about money is that it's not nonstop, right? If something there has to be an accountability in there. And when we look at Agile, one of the things that we talk about is accountability. And there has to be who is accountable to what are our success metrics. And I talked about, how we look at our KPIs, how are they formulated to deliver value? And if they're not, if it's failing, why would you keep doing the same thing over and over again if it's failing? If it's failing, pivot and do something that isn't going to fail. And once you confront, bean counters with that, it's like it's not working. They'll fall behind you because no one wants to throw money away, even though they do it all the time. Once they see there's a better way, eventually it will stick. Does it fail a lot? Absolutely. Is this a perfect thing? No, man. This has been full of mistakes and hiccups and experiments. But one of the things that I teach in my psychological safety class is that we're going to fail. And it's okay to fail because that's where we learn. A lot of people don't want to look bad in front of their bosses because they're afraid of failure. one of the things I talk about immediately when I started coaching these organizations is failure is okay. We have to build the psychological safety in order to have quality conversations. And that's part of the journey. And it takes years to build that trust and that safety. But it can fail. And there's been some, spectacular fails. I'm hoping this sticks. I don't know if it is. I'm in the middle of it now.
I just recently had a conversation with a bunch of junior people about customer value, what value means, and it would be interesting to hear what's your opinion. But when I was asked about customer value, I referred to value proposition canvas. You create value when you cure the pain or provide additional gain for your customer. How would you, what would your take on this definition?
You broke up. Say that again.
So my definition of customer value is it has to cure a pain or provide additional gain for the customer.
Yes. That's that. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
What is your definition?
It's pretty close to that. To me, it's like anything that provides value. What is that value? That's it. And value, I try not to be too stringent on that, because of my idea, I want to hear what people say, because depending on what you build, depending on what you do, value might be different for different teams. Can we put, I'm looking for something here. I can't put a presentation into the chat, can I? Am I allowed to do that?
I believe you can. You could, what is the version?
Oh, I see that someone wrote something about the Phoenix I read that book. It's a really good book. Great on paper, but different when applying with executives. It absolutely is. I got really, I have really good relationships with the executives, but the thing is, they have to be open to it. If people don't give themselves permission, it will fail. That's the whole thing with Agile. You have to give, there has to be that buy-in for it. And one of the things I bring my clients in is I have them read the Phoenix Project. That's one of their first homework assignments. Now I'm seeing the chats.
What was that? That's a book or a case study or something?
Yeah, I was just looking to, I have lean portfolio management I have my LPM presentation that I give to clients. I can give it to Sasha and he can distribute to the group afterwards. Also, who of you guys are in Scaled Agile Framework or have access to Safe Studio? There's an LPM community, and I should have kept the link to this. I just went to a talk on LPM where a woman was part of a European travel company that implemented LPM, and it was a 3-year journey, and it was a really good presentation. And I think if you go and search Safe Studio, that was there too, because someone just asked for a case study, and she had this really great presentation. I think it was a Da Vinci travel. Oh, now I'm gonna have a total brain thing.
If you could send me the presentations,
Yeah.
I could. You probably won't be able to do this through the, but I, as an organizer, I have access to MeetUp, and I could send messages to people and send the links to people through the MeetUp communication.
Yeah, I have a huge document library. I've one of the things I should just probably put it up on like Creative Commons, like Allison's Agile Brain, and I've got decks for everything. I try to make these as basic as possible. Like I have a DevOps for Dummies. I have a lean, basic lean portfolio management. Trying to make arcane things interesting and simple for something that is anything but. Lean portfolio management is complicated. but there's not a lot I can do in an hour to talk about all the things that could go wrong. But, it's just give it a try. That's all I'm a coach. If they wanted to do it, I'm working with them to make it happen.
And thank you for sharing the link, Gabriel.
Thanks for that. Discipline. That was one of the seven core competencies, and they call it discipline now. That's right. That's where my old SAFE thing, they changed the nomenclature.
Yeah, SAFE is always changing. SAFE people are really experts in selling things. I recently learned that they are the same people that was able to sell people on rational roles. If you were around for as long as I was, then you might remember this snake oil called rational roles.
I actually do.
I remember spending almost a year on playing with that at Autodesk before throwing this away as a hot potato.
Yep. Well, anyway, I think I just about to lose my voice. That's all I got in me for now.
Cool. Very interesting presentation. Thank you, Alison, for taking time to put these slides together. Thank you for coming in and speaking to our community and answering all the questions. MeetUp allows us to exchange messages, so please feel free to send messages to the community. I will get some presentations, some links from Alison, and
Yeah, I'll
I
send
will
you the
distribute it.
presentation. Actually, wait, hold on. Let's see if I can do this on Dropbox. Hold on. Maybe I can do it this way. Dropbox, copy Dropbox link. Maybe I can do this. Ha! Sold. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, that's the wrong one. That's my Lean Agile Leadership presentation. Here's another one. Okay. You get a twofer here. Okay, here's the other one. This is Dropbox, copy
Okay.
Dropbox. Like, all right, two presentations, Lean Agile Leadership and Lean Portfolio Management. There we go. So you got two of my presentations and links.
Cool.
That should work. That's right to my Dropbox.
Just want to let you know that the first presentation has Logic logo on it. So
Yep, it's what I did for Logic.
yeah, so
That's where I work, guys. I work for
hope you are
Logic.
not going to be in trouble for
No,
sharing
no,
this
I'm not going to be in
presentation.
trouble. No.
Okay.
That'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Any last moment questions to Alison before we call it a day?
Yeah.
Going once, going twice. Thank you, Alison, again
you.
for being here. Really great presentation. And I'm looking forward to learning more from you. If you have any more topics, you know
I had to remove one of my links to the LPM presentation because I had something in there that you guys didn't need, so I removed it. I'll send a different link later.
Okay. Send them to me, and I will send them through the MeetUp.
Okay, you got it. But you've got my my Logic one for Lean Agile Leadership.
And if you are okay to share your presentation, I would also appreciate the link. I will send it to
you. Bet. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.